How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Mike from Seattle, and today we have with us for the third time on the channel Michael Zuber, the author of the book Over My Shoulder, One Rental at a Time, and the YouTube channel creator by the same name. Mike does a bunch of things for us. Mike, real quick, say hey.
Hey, how you doing?
So Mike has a daily financial show where he brings you news and he brings you information on the market, the stock market, occasionally cryptocurrency. He also does a lot of interviewing experts and millionaire investors to bring you their take on things. But he also has a course, the One Rental at a Time course, and the course is designed to help you get started. But what I wanted to ask Mike today, if you've ever watched his videos, he always talks about how important it is to get to just 4 rentals. And if you make it to four, it'll completely change your life. I made it to 4 rentals in November of 2020. So my question for
Sweet.
Mike today, I know, right? I couldn't believe it. My question for
Yeah.
Mike today is what should your next goal be and what should your next milestone be after 4 rentals?
Well, I'm so happy you got to four rentals. Everybody that does, you have some options.
Yeah.
So it really depends on where you are in life, right? You're on the younger end of the people that follow my channel, right? And really, here is a fork in the road. Some people are going to get to this fork in the road, say, four, I'm good. I'm going to spend the next 5, 8, 10 years. I'm going to pay these off so that when I exit, because maybe they're 50, when I exit at 60, it's important for me, for whatever reason, to have these four assets paid off, right? I believe that's a perfectly worthwhile goal, right? If you want to be retired, have four free and clear cash flow rentals into your retirement, good. I think that's a wonderful goal. Someone at your age who gets to four, who now has a proven model because you have what I call a proof of concept, right? You did something in your backyard and then you went out of state.
Hmm.
You have a choice now at four. You can either run it back and get to the next goal of 10 that you hear me talk about, which is really just rinse and repeat and keep going.
Hmm.
Another thing you will have at your disposal because you've gotten a four, and usually by the time you get to four, it's been a couple of years since you've had the first one.
Hmm.
You could do what was in my book because after I spent my 40 grand, I was done. But what I did to the first one, I went back and I did a cash out refinance. Obviously, I borrowed too much because it went negative. Don't do that. But again, I went back to the second one and the third one and pulled some cash out. So it allowed me to keep going. And the property number two and property number three, I pulled cash out. The rate went lower and my payment actually went down slightly. But you have a lot more options at four, right? You can stop, focus on pay down, right? Go the whole Dave Ramsey route.
Hmm.
You could say, hey, I'm just going to run it back. I like what I'm doing. I'm going to get to 10. Why four? Why 10? Originally four was because that's all banks would lend on. There was a time before you started, Mike, where a bank said if you had more than four investment houses, you were risky. We won't lend to you unless you had four. It was absurd, but it was very true. This is like 16, 17, maybe 15, 16, 17. Since then, because prices have gone up, they're now like, just kidding. We'll give you 10,
Hmm.
right? So that's when I say run it back and you could get to 10. You could still get cheap loans, right? Sub 4%, maybe low fours today on your next 6 rental houses. So for a guy like you, it's probably run it back. It might be time, depending on where the market is and what your interest rates on the first one. You can go pull just a little from that first one, so you could get number five, get number six, and then now you just start snowballing it, right? You have more
Hmm.
cash flow coming from the others,
Right.
and getting number seven is faster, and getting number eight's faster, right? I suspect if you did this, the same time that you went from 0 to 4, you can go from 4 to 10,
Hmm.
right? Because it just starts to snowball more. So again, congratulations, celebrate the moment. You do have a choice. Again, I'm not going to judge anybody that goes, hey, I'm going to pay off. Great. I'm going to run it back and go to 10. Awesome. Sort of you be you, but that's where you're at. And you of course have that kitty from, property one and two. So you've got options ahead of you, which I'm so happy to see.
Well, it's funny, some of the things you said, I actually did, sort of. So I bought my duplex initially in 2018, and with all of the crazy, crazy inflation that we're seeing and real estate prices skyrocketing, it went up $150,000 in equity in the 2.5 years I've had it. So I didn't do it.
Oh, darn.
Well, right, exactly. What a horrible problem to have. I didn't
Yeah.
do a cash out refinance. I just specifically focused on lowering my payment. So I
Okay.
refinanced it at the new value and dropped my payment $500 a month, got a much better interest rate.
Rate and term.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I figured, I live here. I'm not sure how long I'll live here, but I just like to make sure that home base is covered. I got
Oh, for
very
sure.
cheap living expenses, especially with my job in law enforcement. You never know what's going to happen. If I can live for free, it's probably a good idea. But one of the houses, so you gave me advice when I was moving, I think from my second to my third. You said you should start exploring seller financing options.
Yep.
And so I bought a house on seller financing. And what was great
Nice.
was not only could I set the terms, set the interest rate, but I bought it significantly under value. I got it for 34,000, and my real estate agent is comping it out right now at about 70,000. So I'm
Nice.
trying to see if I can do a cash out refinance with that property, walk away with
Hmm.
some of that money, and snowball it. So those
Yeah.
are my goals moving forward. So I'm going to take your advice without creating an alligator property like Norris
Yep.
Drive. I won't be doing
Don't
that.
do that. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
about that
That
when I run
that
the
hurt
numbers.
every month.
But my other question for you, so we should aim at getting to four. You said fork
Yes.
in the road. My goal is to go from 4 to 10.
Awesome.
But what should my time frame be realistically?
Well, let me ask you this: how long did it take you to go from 0 to 4?
Surprisingly, 2018 to 2020, November to November, exactly 2 years.
So 2 years. I think getting the next six where we're at, because again, you're only going to do good or great deals.
Hmm.
I think if you did that, I think if you got six in the next 4 years, that would be pretty good. That would be a total of 6 years getting to 10 units.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you've run the numbers. I'm sure you have, but at what point do you replace your income, right? How many units, given
Right.
variables and factors and all the stuff I'm sure you play
Hmm.
with, how many do you need to? You're like, you know what? That number is just about big as that number.
Right. Yeah. It's between 25 and 30. If I got to 25 and 30
Okay.
at the cash flow number I look at, which is 250 to $300 of straight profit per property, that's where
Okay.
I'm looking at getting to.
Yeah, so you're going to get there probably in the next 4 years. You'll get to 10 units. And then at that point, my suspicion is we'll be in a market where multifamily is going to go on sale, right? You've heard me talk about
Hmm.
multifamily has interest rate risk. The
Right.
great thing about what you're doing in single family, AKA residential, is you're taking interest rate risk off the table,
Hmm.
right? You said earlier we're in an inflationary environment. No joke.
Yeah.
The Fed is pushing it down, it's holding it back. It can manipulate rates for a while, but not forever.
Hmm.
And eventually, Jerome Powell's going to have to yank it out. Rates are going to go higher. The stock market's going to throw a conniption, and real estate's going to settle. But what's going to happen is I don't think residential crashes because we don't have the same loan products like last time.
Hmm.
But commercial, I'm hearing more and more about just nutty commercial deals being done. Commercial means 5 units and above, folks,
Hmm.
like apartments, and they're being done at ridiculous cap rates with stupid assumptions. And we're going to see a lot of apartments come back. And again, one of the things I can say that with confidence is because I've done it before. I picked up 18 units, nothing down. I picked up two 10 units side by side from different banks for nothing more than 20 grand escrowed for repairs. There are people overpaying for small commercial multis being kind of 5 to 30 units, that
Hmm.
range, right? They're too small for the big guys,
Right.
but it's just big enough to get interesting. And I believe you're going to get that chance again, and it will be shockingly enough in 4 years, 3 to 4 years,
Hmm.
because rates will go from 3%, to 4.5, 5, 6%, and if you do that, cap rates got to go from 4 or 5% to 8 or 9%, and that's just going to crush values. And we're going to get to pick up a lot of multifamily cheap in about 3 to 4 years.
And that was kind of my last question for you is, in the book you talk about how '06, '07 you couldn't find any more good deals with single family homes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you started 1031 exchanging into larger multifamily properties. And when I mean larger, I just mean like
Yeah.
16 unit apartment buildings, kind of what you just described.
Yeah.
And so my question for you was, if that change in the market doesn't happen, is there a point where you should just naturally look to diversify what you own by maybe acquiring an apartment building like that or two?
No, I really don't. I think you always go where the best deal is.
Okay.
And, if we operate in an environment where there are idiots out there overpaying for multifamily, great, stay focused on single family.
Hmm.
History tells me that single family and multifamily don't operate in the same cycle, except the last 2 years, everything's going up ridiculously. But it's because of the Fed, right? You've heard me say on the daily financial news, don't fight the Fed. Well, the Fed just, took interest rates to zero, just pumped trillions of dollars into the economy. The money's got to go somewhere.
Right.
So all assets are rising,
Hmm.
stocks, houses, apartments. Eventually, that won't happen. And what's going to change is interest rates. Interest rates won't really impact legacy residential because your rates are fixed. It will have an impact on the next buyer, and it may lower prices. But again, you're buying for cash flow, so who cares? Your
Hmm.
rates set.
Right.
But multifamily, 5 and above, they have interest rate risk. And if you are, because interest rates, if you look at the chart, they've been going down for 20 years,
Hmm.
18 years. We are about to go into a cycle where they could, in theory, go up for 7, 8, 9 years. Slowly, but again, every interest rate rise means cap rates have to rise. And it just has a really nasty combination on multifamily. So, yeah, I think you're going to have a chance. But no, I mean, frankly, if I could only own single family houses right now, I'd be happy. My multis are not performing as well.
It be harder to collect rent right now.
Well, I'm seeing tremendous rental growth in single family homes because
Right.
demand is so high.
Me too. In the three that
It's,
I own.
it's nutty. I mean, just nut. I mean, I've had some single family homes, rent tenant turnover, right? They bought a house or moved or whatever they did, went up 300 or 400 bucks
Yeah.
between tenants.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've not seen that in a decade, right? I've saw it in one turnover. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, my property manager out there, same thing. She's like, yeah, if the tenant moves out, we'll take it from 750 to 1050. I'm like, I've owned it for 6 months. Like, what? Okay.
yeah, it's pretty wild. So again, then that will impact residential values. But
Right.
multifamily, the problem with closed multifamily, like I have a couple like 5 units on the bottom, five on top. I have a couple five with a courtyard in the middle. People don't like being around people today,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Space is good is real.
Yeah.
So I have flat rents in some of my multis, and I certainly have tougher rent collection in my multis. Houses are screaming, just they're totally fine.
Hmm.
So man, if I could wave a magic wand and have all houses right now, I would.
Well, that's good info. And kind of my takeaway from this is if I manage to get to the 10 number in the next 3 to 4 years, that's like 2025, maybe
Mhm.
2024, 2025, and I will, if the market changes, like you said, and multifamilies become a little bit easier to get, I will
Mhm.
literally follow in your footsteps 20 years after you did it the first time around.
And I think you're going to get the opportunity. And again, I'm serious. All right, I went 8 to 80 last time. My hope is to go from 35 to 350 this time because I'm running it back. I'm replaying the first stage one, stage two of my book right now. I'm buying every single family home I can.
Good. All right, guys. Well, hopefully this video was beneficial to you. Mike, where can people find you?
Go to Google and type in one rental at a time. You should find YouTube, Instagram, books, Audible, all that stuff.
Mike, I appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you next time.
Good luck and congratulations.
Thank you.